All right, what is up, Utah fans? This is Joseph back with the Utah Utes Football Digest. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about NIL. Today was National Signing Day, so a lot of Utah fans seemed a little bummed about the current NIL landscape and kind of where we are. But I'm sure we're not the only fan base feeling that way. And I kind of wanted to give my thoughts on it, and more than that, more than my thoughts, but an actual solution to a lot of the problems that people keep talking about. I'd say, I'm somewhat informed on this situation. So I'm gonna dive in. We're gonna talk about what's kind of wrong with NIL right now, what's kind of good about NIL right now, and then a proposed solution. I actually think I have a pretty cool idea. I'm sure I'm not the first one to think of it, but I really do think this would be a great solution. So before we dive in, guys, please make sure you guys smash that like button. Also, comment down below. What do you guys think of my proposed solution? And also, what is an idea that you think might work if you don't like mine on how we kind of make NIL a little more sustainable, a little more competitive for all schools? So I'm excited to talk about it. Also, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, we put out a ton of Utah Utes football content. I'd love for you to be around for the ride. Should be a ton of fun, guys. Also, share the video with the friend if you think they'd find it valuable. Let's go ahead and dive in. Let's talk about the NIL landscape and an idea that I think would do a lot of good for NIL. All right, I'm going to start with a quick statement, and I think this statement might turn a few people off, but I have to be really honest. If you're one of the people that continues to say, "Yeah, but they get a college education," you're wrong. Sure, a college education is valuable. I'm not saying it's not, but that's just such a weird argument in today's landscape. Like, yeah, you can get a college education anywhere you play football. So acting like, unless you're an Ivy League school, acting like you have some sort of supreme level college education is just odd. And that's really not even what's going on. It's not like they're going to Ivy League schools. Even when the college, there was not really legal money in football. They weren't going to Ivy League schools because that's not what their number one goal is. And I know a lot of people are talking about how we're supposed to drive young people. But let's be real, guys. Like, you look at the return on investment, if a kid gets 500,000 to $1 million compared to if a kid gets a degree, do you know what type of compounding interest you could have on 500,000 to $1 million if you got it at 18? Like let's not act. And do you guys think that, like, people that go to college just for athletics? I'm not saying this is exclusively, but not a ton of people that go to college in general are using their degrees outside of college. And people talk about connections and like people you meet at college. Um, I just want to make that point. Like, the whole college education thing, like, they should be grateful they're getting a college education. Guys, don't look at it from your perspective. You are not a high-end Division 1 level college athlete, neither was and this is a once in a lifetime ability that they have to go out there and showcase a skill set that a lot of them have put a ton of work into. Like, the equivalent of whatever you have done in your career is what they have put into their football career. Like, stop forgetting, guys. You guys got to remember how good D1 college football players are. Think about yourself back in high school and yourself back in the day and the guys that you knew that went on to go play Division 1 football. These were like the best players in the state. You get what I'm saying? These aren't just some random guys. Like, they're usually, unless they're on some super stacked team, they're clearly the best player on even a good high school team. I just want to talk. I wanted to touch on some of that stuff. I know it was a bit of a rant, but I just, guys, like, don't act like you can claim what's best for the player. Let's be real. I agree that I think there you could even make some cases to say, hey, what they do with that $1 million or how long it takes them to get paid out that $1 million that they're getting offered. And I know they're not all getting a million, but 150,000, 200,000 for like a pretty good player. I'm just saying, like, we can make cases about that, but if the marketplace says they deserve this, they deserve this. Like, so don't be the old man on his front porch getting annoyed that players are making money, because that is a losing argument with me. And honestly, I would imagine with any person that just cares about people, that's a losing argument with them as well. Why? Because I don't want you to get paid, or I don't want you to play for a school that can pay you more than my school. I don't want players to get paid. No, I want people. I value people. I want people to go get what to go make as much money as they can. So I hate that argument. But I'm gonna pause for a second, but then I'm gonna throw out my idea. I wanted to ramble a little and give you guys my thoughts on that before I go into my idea. Okay, guys, and here's my idea for how you can actually effectively make NIL work. And I think it's at the conference level, and I think it's similar to how the NFL does it. Because don't forget, guys, how the NFL does what you can pay players is based around salary caps, okay? And basically every team has a salary cap, and that cap can go up or that cap can go down based on how much money that the NFL is bringing in, right? Because it does have years where it goes down a little, and it has years where it goes up. A lot of that's based on TV contracts. And I think my idea for how you fix it in college football is you make a conference level salary cap. Because if you think about it, if you got all these teams in a conference, right? Most conferences are what, 15, 16 teams nowadays. So you take all those teams and you get them together in a room, and they all have to agree on a salary cap, right? Like, there has to be at least a majority vote to agree on a certain number to a salary cap. Like, let's imagine the SEC is here and the Mountain West is here, right? Now, the SEC, you're going to have schools that want to have ridiculously high salary caps. None of us really know the money behind the scenes, but like Georgia would probably want a ridiculously high, Alabama, a ridiculously high salary cap. They'd probably want a ridiculous number, right? But there's going to be other teams in that room that will kind of level the playing field. Like maybe Kentucky is not okay with a $10 million salary cap because they know they can't compete. And Vanderbilt's not going to be okay with a $10 million salary. I'm just throwing out numbers. I would imagine for sure the SEC would have the highest, if not one of the highest salary caps in this thought experiment. But just in general, I think it would never get out of control, because the lower end teams and even the middle teams would never vote on something that they knew for sure they could not compete with. They would never do that. And the conferences are spread out enough that is going to balance itself. Like, let's say the Big 12, for example. Think about all the teams in the Big 12: Kansas State, Iowa State. You got Utah, right? BYU, Arizona. This would be a conference that would probably have a $1 to $2 million salary cap, or maybe up to $5 million. Who knows what the number is? But the lower end teams, the middle teams, would keep it from getting out of control. And based on the TV contract they got, that would determine where they would put that salary cap. There's a lot of factors that can go into it. I also want to bring up that Mountain West example. So Mountain West is not even going to be anywhere near the Big 12, but they could all agree on some numbers, right? It's like, okay, $1 million salary cap. That's the deal. That's no one in this conference can go above $1 million. If you go above $1 million, you're disqualified from conference championships for 2-3 years. You guys get what I'm saying. It's like there are hard lines. And maybe you even do some tweaking with that, where it's like, hey, kind of like the NFL does. I'm not an expert on contracts, but I do know there's some weirdness with how signing bonuses work and how guaranteed money works. Like if you do it as a signing bonus, it's a little murky, but I think it doesn't affect at least that year's cap. But if you give a player fully guaranteed money, all in all, I just wanted to throw out an actual solution, because I do think a salary cap at a conference level could be really good, guys. That way, like the group of five schools are competing with each other. And the Big 12, everyone in the Big 12 is competing with each other because at the end of the day, maybe they don't want to be competing with schools that are spending 10, 20 million a year on their salary cap. And that you can do that at the conference level. So that's an idea I had, and I ranted for a while earlier. I really hope that wasn't too distasteful, but it has annoyed me when I hear people say like, "Hey, you should be grateful you're getting a college education," because I thought that was a really stupid argument before NIL and before the transfer portal, and I still think it's a stupid argument. So I'm really glad to see college football players getting paid. I'd love for there to be some regulation, like I said, where they can't get it paid out all at once. I'm sure there's some of that, or I would love to see stuff about like you gotta. I don't know. You don't want too much regulation. I don't know. I'm just really just thinking off the top. I just watched a video earlier. It pissed me off, so I wanted to make this. Please make sure you guys smash that like button before we get out of here. Also, comment down below. What do you guys think? Do you like the salary cap idea? Do you think there's a different way we have to do it? And just so you know, when I say the salary cap idea, like you could also say like, hey, any Power Five school can't spend above this, right? And any G5 school can't spend above this. I think that type of stuff would make sense while still letting players make a lot of money. And if one player's worth a ton to that one team can put a ton of their salary cap into that player, same way they do it in the NFL. There's a reason Mahomes is making $50 million a year and a lot of other quarterbacks aren't, right? It's a good case. So I'd love to hear what you guys think about that. Also, please subscribe to the channel. We put out a ton of Utah Utes football content, and I would love for you guys to be along for the ride. And share the video with a friend if you found this interesting. Show them the opinion. I'd love to hear what you guys think. All right, I'm out of here. Go Utes.